Let's jump right into the review here. This here is an HP EliteBook. I'd call it the 2025 model. It's equipped with the Lunar Lake chip. This laptop is freaking incredible. If you're looking for a super thin, very premium laptop, wham, with crazy good battery life, truly, an amazing screen, and still tons of performance, watch this review because this laptop is superb. Okay, so let's have a look at the specifications on this specific model here. So we have a very good CPU here. The Intel 268V is the CPU. It's an excellent CPU. I haven't used the specific one, but I've used the 258V. It's like one step down. These are the battery kings right now. These are the true battery kings. Intel came out. I used to critique Intel all the time a few years ago because their CPUs were just not that great on laptops, but they've come out in 2024, 2025, just absolutely swinging. It's an 8-core processor, no threads, so no hyper-threading. True 8 cores though, and they're good 8 cores. So this thing has a lot of power, but it's incredibly good on battery. You'll see when we get to that point there, just how good this battery thing will be on this laptop here. Don't want to spoil it, but it does also have a very good iGPU, one of the best on the market right now in my testing. It's the 890M from AMD, tied or slightly faster than the 140T, and then a little bit faster than again from the 140V, and this is actually faster than the 780M, the AMD 780M. It's absolutely faster than that, and it's better for things like video encoding as well. Faster in things like gaming, just like raw GPU performance. This is faster, than the ROG Ally, Legion Go for sure. But when it comes to video editing, it's significantly faster in my testing, at least. It's a very, very good iGPU, 16 gigabytes. It can take as much VRAM as it wants. Looks like it's set up for, can do sharing because it actually takes them from the system. Wi-Fi 7, BE201. What did I test recently that had BE201? I can't remember. That's really good Wi-Fi. We'll see when we get to that point. And an NVMe Samsung MVZ. That's basically a 990 Pro OEM version. So very good specs here. The RAM in it as well is going to run super fast. So we have 32 gigabytes. It is soldered, row on chips, but it's 8,533 megatransfers per second. That is very good. Okay, so here's a look at the laptop. Very premium. It's got that kind of dark blue, got a little bit of a metallic sheen to it. It is darker, so it will get fingerprints, but it's still somewhat resistant to fingerprints because it's a metallic. It's not like a matte kind of thing. So I've been messing around with this thing. It's probably been about a week now, and the fingerprints are really not that bad. I haven't wiped it down. So, and I always do this recently. It's my new thing. It's my new thing to use a laptop for a little while. Usually like the end of the video, I do the intro, just so you know, and then that way I can, basically give it a wipe down and see how easy it is to clean, how bad it was for fingerprints. Easy wipe down on these here. So, right, it's not going to be as resistant as a lighter one. Like I have the HP Studio, a ZBook Studio that I did a review of, and that was a metallic silver, so it didn't show any fingerprints. But even with these black ones, it's relatively easy, and yeah, looks pretty nice. Incredibly thin. It does not show up on camera. It looks like this massive thing on camera, but it's like as thick as my micro screwdriver, right? Like this is a micro screwdriver. It's such a thin laptop. This is the first EliteBook I think that I've ever reviewed. Yeah, it is. I had like OmniBooks and Precisions and all that kind of stuff. This is their EliteBook. It's very, very, very thin. You can see there. It's meant to be, right? It's meant to be a very portable type machine, but it's, there's a lot of structure to it, right? Very, very structurally sound. No bend, no flex on this thing, despite being super thin, right? This thing, you'd have to break it, like intentionally. You'd have to to really get any flex out of it. So that's really nice. Ports aren't going to be, crazy or anything like that, but it looks pretty good. You do get a USB-A on the side there. It's kind of like a low profile thing, so it locks up. It's interesting that they're able to get a USB-A on such a thin laptop. Let's just show you guys. Right? So it's like as thick as the actual laptop. The actual bezel around here is thinner, physically thinner than USB-A, like significantly thinner than USB-A. It's actually as thin as USB-C, but they do have this kind of lockdown thing, which does allow you to get that in a little bit further. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. So I love to see a legacy port. USB is critical. You have to have USB if possible on a laptop. Microphone, headphone combo jack, USB-C, fast USB-C too. And then over here we have 2 more USB-C. So we actually do end up with 4 USB ports, and one of them is USB-A. That's really fantastic. And a Kensington lossless, just so you know. So 1,183 grams. So, it's not really that heavy at all. It's pretty light. What's that, like 2.5 pounds, something like that? So it's not heavy by any means, despite the fact that it is, well built, very, very well built. Inside, it does have a reflective screen. It's kind of leaning a little bit more towards like the creative types. So that's kind of fine, I guess. So we do have that there. We do have a camera kill switch up here. No notch or anything like that. We just got a tiny bit of a bezel on the top there. The rest are relatively thin. They're just as much bezel as they can fit the HP on there. Essentially went with there. Clean internals as well. Right, same midnight kind of design in there. Looks good. Immense trackpad, absolutely immense trackpad. This trackpad, I don't want to spoil it, but it's really nice, and you'll see when we get to that point there. Super low profile keyboard. I don't want to spoil that either, but standard layout as well. No upfiring speakers here, but there is the quad speaker, one there, like a little one there, and a bigger one, so it's fine. You don't need the upfiring in this case. And then you have a typical standard layout there. So nice, clean little package. Nothing weird looking about it. It's a nice, clean, kind of professional package like I like to see. Let's open it up and look inside. Okay, let's get inside the laptop. There's not too many screws here. Look at that. So, bottom here, it's actually a plastic bottom. It fooled me. I almost thought it was metal. That's to keep the weight down, but it's that really firm, rigid plastic. So there's really no bend on it, like even no bending on it. It's quite firm. And there's a lot of structural stuff in here too, just to keep it feeling nice and structurally sound. That's good. So that was a choice they made. Inside, we can see it's a very, very, very thin laptop. There's not going to be much in terms of upgradability in these laptops for a couple of reasons. But the biggest thing here is they do want to maintain incredible thinness, right? Like the actual physical laptop is super, super, super thin. Very, very, it looks thicker on camera always, but it's so thin in person, right? It's an incredibly thin laptop. So they're not going to be able to put, massive behemoth cooling inside, a giant massive battery. Despite being so incredibly thin and not generally a big laptop overall, it does have a 65 watt hour battery. Can't find it on here, but somewhere it probably says it. It is a 65 watt hour battery. Now, 65 watt hours is pretty good for an ultrabook. 65 watt hours with a Lunar Lake chip means this thing's going to get really good battery life. That's just the way that it is. Lunar Lake is very efficient, so you slap that on with a 65 watt hour battery. Despite the fact that this laptop is super thin, we should get really good battery life. Now, in terms of other things as well, we do have a quad speaker setup. That's interesting. I've never seen these little baby tweeters there. They're going to pop out the side there. So you get two of them there, and then you get the thicker, higher wattage ones here. These should sound pretty good, honestly. I mean, it's an EliteBook. They're not going to screw around and put some garbage speakers in here. I do expect it to sound quite good. Wi-Fi is not upgradable. There's not really a lot of room to put it in such a thin laptop, right? They need to make sure that all the primary components are in here. The battery thing is split left to right. It doesn't mean anything, but it looks cool, so I'm going to point it out. You do have an NVMe under here. It's a full-size NVMe, 2280. That's nice to see. You're not going to have, there's nowhere to put a second one, so that's fine. But it's nice to see that there's a full-size 2280 in there. No, tiny little 2230 type stuff. That's going to let me, that means you can put in a significantly larger NVMe as a result. I'm going to pull out the battery there, and I'm going to check something. Just want to see what's under here. Not really because I want to see what NVMe is. I actually already know what it is, because I don't film things in sequence. They are often filmed massively out of sequence. This had this for over a week. But I do want to see one thing. So take that off there. We have the Samsung MVZ, which basically a Samsung 990 Pro. 990 or 980 Pro. I'm not sure which one this would be, but you can put that in there. And there's easily enough room for a dual-sided NVMe, and that's why I took that out there. So you would have to take out this little pad thing here. Yeah, so once you take that pad out there, you can easily get, you don't even need to. A dual-sided just fits straight up, and it's actually not putting pressure. So you got tons of room to even put in a dual-sided NVMe. That means that this tiny little thin laptop can support, at least right now, because that's all we have, up to 8 terabytes of storage. And the cooling looks fine. So you get a dual fan setup, dual heat pipe setup. These fans are crazy dense. The fins on them, crazy, crazy, crazy dense. So I actually expect that these fans should run pretty quiet. It doesn't necessarily mean that it moves more air when they're like this dense style and they have that kind of curve to it. They might move more air, but what I can say is that they are less turbulent. And so meaning they produce less fan like whirring sound and less just general fan noise. So I am a fan of that fan design. So should be relatively quiet. Plus it's a Lunar Lake chip, so it won't get hot in the first place. But even if we crank this thing up, it sure runs super quiet. So actually, I'm really impressed with the internals of this laptop. It's looking fantastic. Okay, so let's get in here and start testing some stuff out. Let's start with the keyboard. The crazy thing is the battery life is so good on this laptop. I can just unplug it and review for days. Let's have a look at the keyboard though. So it is a very low profile keyboard, right? The actual physical keycaps are very low profile, very, very, very low profile, right? But man, are they ever snappy. Decent travel, right? It's actually still going to be more travel than a MacBook, which is crazy. You know, those MacBook Airs, they have no travel. This actually has more, but it is still a relatively low travel keyboard, as you can see. You do get slightly different colors here up on the function row. Looking nice. Standard layout. You can come in here and do your function type stuff like that. Right, just a little bit of a light backlight on the keyboard, nothing crazy. Just enough so that, you know, you're typing in a dark room. Give you some light up there. Looking nice, standard. You know, you get your arrow keys over here. Unfortunately, you get a Copilot key, but I don't know, maybe that's a thing now. Very good. Very standard kind of layout. Looking fine. Let's come in here. We'll do a quick typing test. Oh, it's nice. You'll see. We'll talk about it, but let me just continue. Oh, it's a really nice keyboard, actually. Again, for being relatively low profile and not a ton of travel, it's crazy snappy. It's similar idea of like a MacBook. If you ever use a MacBook Air, kind of same idea, but it's way better than a MacBook keyboard. Way, 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 way better. Much more snappy and slightly more travel. It just feels really snappy. So whatever they're using in there, the scissor switch mechanism, whatever it is, it's really nice. Now, the trackpad is something special here, right? So we can put, by the way, the hinge does go back all the way, right? So you do get 180 degree hinge. Look at that, really nice. The trackpad, however, is massive. So we do have a massive trackpad that takes up most of the keyboard, most of the keyboard deck. So that's nice. Now this is a haptic keyboard, haptic trackpad, right? Let's see if I'm bringing it up here so we can get a little bit of audio. You might be able to hear it. Haptic trackpads. My current laptop that I use on a daily basis has a haptic trackpad. MacBooks use haptic trackpads. Haptic trackpads are a little different because there's not an actual plunging mechanism. There's actually a little motor in there. There's advantages and disadvantages. I guess some people, it's not as aggressive as a click when you sometimes have like a huge plunge, but in every other way it's better, right? So you actually get a nice kind of uniform response wherever you click on the keyboard. Whereas with plunging style, I mean, sometimes depending on where you click, like if you come way over, you'll get a much larger click than, for example, something over here. And if you go up too high, you might be over the air, like too far over where the actual button mechanism is, and you'll get a little bit less of a click there. Not an issue here. And it's very consistent. That's the thing here. And smooth texture as well, right? Very, very smooth, large keycap, large trackpad. And it is large, but you will get good key thumb rejection there. That's the other thing too with like a plunging style. You can actually sometimes press your hand on the thing and accidentally activate it. Like if you're typing and you accidentally press your hand on a non-haptic, like a plunging style, of course you can press the button physically and it will come up here. It doesn't work that way. It will only do it when you have like your hand there. It says, okay, now I have one finger there. If I go like that, it knows, right? That one, right? But this one, right? It's not moving. I'm actually moving my hand on the trackpad. It's not, it knows it's a palm, right? So when I'm typing, it's not going to randomly, activate this and press it down, right? It's not going to press it down, and it's also not going to move the thing. Of course, I can still bring my hand in here and do that. Now the screen, I'm going to kill off the slide behind me. It is a glossy screen, so if you really don't like glossy screens, just be aware of that. It's not as glossy as some screens, but it is still a glossy screen, right? So you do have your glossy touch screen here. Right, so one of the reasons that it has that glossy screen there is so that it has more vibrancy. There's advantages and disadvantages to glossy screens. A disadvantage of a glossy screen is that it's glossy, so you get reflections, right? You can see my hand kind of reflecting in there. An advantage of a glossy screen is that colors pop way more than a matte screen. Matte screens, I still like matte screens and I still use them, but just so you know, like if you know the difference, a matte screen will, the way that it handles light is different. It's going to be intentionally bringing down that vibrancy, so you get a little bit less vibrancy, but you get no reflections. Going with a glossy screen, you have to deal with the gloss, but as a result, you get much more vibrancy. Vibrancy in terms of the colors just looking more saturated and more rich. So a laptop like this isn't necessary. I mean, yeah, you can use it just, as like a business machine or whatever, a student type machine, going about your day, typing, doing that kind of stuff. But it does also appeal, I think it would appeal also towards people who are more creative type jobs, who might be doing things like video editing, photo editing, graphic design, that kind of stuff. You take this with you. It's a type of machine that you're going to take. It weighs absolutely nothing, despite being very rugged, very rigid. You can take it with you, that kind of thing, and do your work on the go. It's also a high resolution, so 1800p on this resolution is fantastic. Again, my current laptop is an 1800p screen as well, and on this size here, 14-inch laptop, it's really nice. 1600p is fantastic as well, but 1800p just gives you that little bit of extra, and it does make a difference when you're doing things like graphic design and video editing. You have more physical space there, and you're working on elements, especially if you take screen grabs, they are a finer resolution. So just be aware of that. It is really nice to edit on a finer resolution screen like that. Your refresh is also very high as well. So it's weird that it's 120 and 48. I guess 48 is like really, you got to go for battery, and this thing is the battery king. Okay, so the screen here, let's have a quick look. Bring that down, that reflectivity a little bit there. So inky blacks looking fantastic there. And because it's, it's not a matte screen, it's a glossy screen, it's going to look even more deep and rich. So that's looking gorgeous in there. That screen looks fantastic there. And it's 100% DCI-P3 color space. What does that matter? Well, the reds are also going to look super vibrant. So we'll come in here, we'll turn that up to a acceptable acceptable resolution there. Right, so those reds are going to look nice and vibrant, being 100% DCI-P3 color space. Going to be very nice there. Super vibrant reds here, looking fantastic. Like I said earlier, the blacks are inky. Okay, and here's another area here. Gorgeous greens here. Because of that DCI-P3 color space, you're going to get more vibrant greens as well. The grass actually looks alive and healthy here. When you get a non-DCI-P3 color space, these grasses look dead. They look like yellow. So very vibrant here. It's a fantastic looking screen. Nice and crisp with that resolution. Fast refresh as well. You only see it in 60 Hz because that's what my camera records in. I see faster than that. And so 120 is going to look nice. Beautiful colors there though. Very vibrant. And the blacks are looking really nice. So you get, that kind of 3D effect because the blacks are looking actually fantastic. Now I do expect pretty good things out of these speakers because there's a quad speaker setup and they look pretty serious. And I do not foresee HP going weak on the EliteBook here, to be honest. Really nice speakers, actually. They sound fantastic. They have a pretty decent amount of bass considering it's such a thin laptop. Usually you have to get into thicker laptops, where there's a little bit more resonance. You can put in a thicker driver in there. These sound pretty good though. Decent enough low-end bass, and then the mid-range is full. The high end is also full. So really nice speakers, actually. Quite good. So we do have that's the Wolf security thing that comes with it. It's an HP based thing. Again, you don't have to use it, but you can. That did give you that extra layer there where I clicked a program, opened it up, and it warned me. It was like, do you actually want to do that? Just one extra click. That's good. Get some malware stuff in here. It doesn't look super invasive. I had this on the other laptops. It doesn't look like it's super invasive or using a ton of resources or anything like that. That's fine. Now you can come in here. You do have access to my HP as well. I don't know what this one is here. HP AI Companion. We'll open that up in a sec too. And we'll open up the support. These are ones that I am comfortable with. So HP Support Assistant is, you can do basically laptop management and support as well, warranty as well. So you can come in here and you can get your warranty. You can do updates in here, and you should do updates in here. This is where you want to get stuff like BIOS updates and critical updates for your laptop. You don't want to do that from, other places. You don't want to get critical updates from, Windows. You want to do that for, software, Windows software, but you don't want to get hardware updates from Windows. You want to get them from your manufacturer, your OEM. Your journey to AI. Now, These chips do come equipped with AI. We can use a microphone. They do come equipped with AI, like the Intel chip itself. They have neural processing AI units in them, so they can do AI stuff. That's cool. Okay, I think it's time to explore HP AI Companion together. Sometimes I record things beforehand. Sometimes like figure them out and be like, what the heck is this? And I come back later and do a little segment. Not this time. This time we're going in and doing this together. To get started, ask me anything. I don't know. Let's ask it something. When was Hewlett-Packard founded? $1939? What the hell? What? I didn't know that. I thought it was like from the 70s. HP EliteBook. It knows. It knows everything. It's in the line of premium laptops. Okay. What is the Intel Lunar Lake chip? I agree. It is an efficient technology, so that's cool. I mean, you get your little your little AI built-in like friend here. Now, I'm not the biggest user of AI, and I think AI has good and bad, a lot of good and bad. What is a good use of AI is something like this, to enhance your ability to get work done. Now, again, this is, you don't want to come in here and be like, everything they say is right, but this is the type of technology you can use to really get a basis. So you can come in here and say like, what is LiDAR and how is it used? This is my specialty. Let's see if we get this right. LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging, that's correct, is a remote sensing technology that uses light measurement at distances at the Earth's surface. That is also correct. Mapping and topography, architecture, just a basic overview, forestry LiDAR, measuring height and canopy density and biomass. That is absolutely correct. Good job, AI. You nailed it. AI Companion uses AI, check for mistakes, right? So it's actually warning you as well. It's warning you and saying, this is not 100% factual all the time. It could potentially have confirmation bias. And it's warning you, you should double fact check. But what I'm reading through here is correct. So, I mean, this is just one random thing. The May doesn't know everything, but it's using the cloud, apparently. It's going in there, and, the question that I asked it there. So, if one of my students, for example, is coming in here and getting, basis, trying to write an essay, and they could say, how is LiDAR used to measure tree coverage? Let's go with coverage. See if it figures that out. I probably should put tree canopy coverage. Yeah, it's literally correct from what I'm just scanning here. So it generates a point cloud, and then it gets first and last. Yeah, it looks good. Height density, distribution of tree coverage. You could see like the actual leaf density, leaf on versus leaf off measurements. Vegetation layers, it's true. You could do that. You can see if it's a tree or a bush underneath, depending. If it can't go through unless there's actually open there. Data sets collected over time. Yep, and you can use that to look at tree canopy changes over time, tree density changes, location changes over time, and then correlate that with other data sets. Yeah, this is all right. So like you have one of my students, for example, they come in here and they say, basic, they're just trying to help themselves get an essay started or get some ideas there, studying companion, that kind of stuff here. This is a really useful tool. Honestly, it's a really useful tool for that kind of stuff here. Okay, so the Intel Lunar Lake chips are not Cinebench monsters. They actually don't do the best in Cinebench, but they're not supposed to. They're an 8-core processor with no threads, no hyperthreading, nothing like that. And they just don't do well in Cinebench. That doesn't mean anything, though. We'll see when we do my little video editing section, which is interesting because this is like often a reflective of like, oh, how good is the CPU and raw compute? But like, it doesn't really work for the Lunar Lake stuff because it doesn't have all those like E-cores and hyperthreading and all that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, it's kind of a video editing monster, especially with that iGPU. However, let's check out what's going on here. So thermal's looking decent. The fans will have to kick up eventually, won't they? can't hear them. Are they on? I guess, yeah, they are on. They're super quiet, though. Kicked up a little bit. Okay, there they go. Now they're kicking up. So it lets itself get to the point of being hot before kicking it up, which I actually like that. I don't necessarily like laptops that, you know, you press the power button, it's like, oh my God, there's watts, and then the fans go like crazy immediately. And then you cannot, when you do that, you can often get like really aggressive curves, like when your computer does anything. I like it to saturate the CPU, get up to a point where it's hot, then kick on the fans. With, you know, a gaming CPU, that doesn't really make sense because you hit the power and then immediately hits the thermal like threshold. Whereas on a business professional laptop like this, or, you know, like an EliteBook, whatever this is, just like a general professional laptop, you want it to take a minute to the fans to kick in because it doesn't need to. Wattages here are fine, right? Peak was 40 wattages. We're looking at about 22. The Lunar Lite can, I think, kind of hang out around 25, 30. Doesn't need it though. It's super efficient, honestly. It's a super efficient chip. Yeah, these are like, it's just a really, really, really efficient chip. You get most of the performance at 20, 25 watts. There's really no point in going beyond that. Whereas a lot of chips, especially traditionally Intel chips, need a lot more watts, but they've really made strides in the space where they don't need a ton more watts. Now, again, the Cinebench isn't going to be crazy. You know, 10,000, that's about what you get out of Lunar Lake here, but it's not a good reflection of how well they actually perform. So some cases you can do CPU to CPU variants, especially between the same CPU on multiple laptops, to check out the cooling and the performance relative to another laptop with the same thing. But to compare, you know, the Lunar Lake chip with, I don't know, like an Arrow Lake 275HX or something like that doesn't make sense because they're totally different. They behave totally different, right? Like that's a CPU with P cores, E cores, and the other E cores with hyperthreading not there anymore. AMD still has hyperthreading. You know, the 265V doesn't have E-cores or hyperthreading, so it's just a different type of beast altogether, but that looks pretty good. It's pretty quiet, though, even under load. Okay, now let's just have a quick look at a few other benchmarks here. So we have the Wi-Fi coming in at a reasonable Wi-Fi speed. Mine kind of varies day by day, but that's just about as fast as my Wi-Fi goes. No problems there, and I didn't have any signal drops or anything like that, so it seems to work quite well. The included NVMe is fast as well. We're looking at upper range Gen 4 in terms of reads, writes, kind of middle of the pack there. No problems at all on the Wi-Fi, on the SSD there. And then we get into the more serious part of this, and this is the battery life. So here we are hanging out here. I actually didn't put it in that like 48 watt or 48 hertz mode. I just kind of left it in its normal mode because it would look a little weird in that way. And you can see here we're at 100% brightness, hanging out, just kind of hanging out in windows here. And we're burning around 4 watts. I mean, over the whole test, maybe 5. That's going to be about 12 or 13 hours, just kind of hanging out here in Windows, depending. And this is a totally stock system, no deloading. I didn't change anything. You could probably get that down even further. But I mean, you're looking at, like, if you want to go at like school day or work day, I mean, like two school day or work day type battery cycles you can get out of this thing here. Easy, you know, take it on a plane, you're traveling from like one continent to another on one charge. It's not going to be even remotely a problem to, you know, use this battery for that type of work. And then here I did throw on some 1080p 60 YouTube and just let it run for a while, and it did go up a little bit, 6.7. I mean, it's not huge change. Again, we're still looking at about 10 hours, so you're gonna be able to, you know, watch YouTube for like 10 hours on this laptop at full brightness and the higher refresh rate. So I mean, you're really going to get excellent battery life out of this laptop. Lunar Lake is designed specifically to be performant, but at the same time have incredibly good battery life due to this battery efficiency. Frankly, I assumed that this thing would have a good camera, so I gave it a challenging scene for this camera shot here. I have very poor lighting. I have one very dim light on the right there, one lamp way over there on the left there, and really no light coming in the front. You can kind of see the split there. A good webcam, right? You'd hope so. I mean, it's an EliteBook. It's a professional laptop. It's meant to be used by professionals. It's the type of laptop that you would potentially be holding online meetings or teaching or something with. So it does have very good polling rate, really good color handling. I mean, It's not oversaturating, undersaturating me. Probably in this dark room, this is probably roughly how I look. So it's doing a very good job. There actually is some light shining on this thing back here, and it's doing a pretty good job balancing that out. Okay, now here's another area that this laptop will excel, especially with its generally quiet nature and Intel chip. Now, again, it didn't do, behemoth performance in Cinebench, right? Again, but it's not supposed to. That's the problem with synthetic benchmarks. They're only partially representative of what something can actually do. And let me show you. So we'll come in here. We're going to grab this here. This is a just shy of 5 GB file. We'll bring that in. Okay, processed. Bring it in here. Let's see how long it takes for the audio track to get processed. Done. Video's ready. What was that, 2 seconds? 1.875 seconds, right? So we have a 4 GB file. Was it 4 or was it 5? I can't remember. Almost 5 GB file processed in like a second over here. And we're able to scrub through in a video. That's literally the laptop I'm reviewing. And we're able to scrub through that fast, right? Very fast. Very fast. You will not notice a difference between this and I don't know, 14900HX or something. Like you just won't. You won't. Not for this type of stuff, right? Maybe if you do heavy code compile, the raw length of it to come out would be better on 14900HX. But other than that, you're not going to notice the difference. Trust me. This is real performance. There's no shenanigans with E-cores and that kind of stuff. This is real, raw performance. We'll come in here and we'll go export. Now, here's another area where this thing excels, and it will obliterate a 14900HX, which is going to be relying on a really weak iGPU to do processing. So we'll go like that here. We'll just call it Elite because it's part of this here. That's fine. We'll do a little HEVC, which is a difficult encoder to work with. It compresses down quite a bit. 60. So we're going to do 60 FPS, 4K encoding. We do have native Intel QuickSync, and we'll run it. Now, I've done tons of video editing now on not exactly the same. This is the 140V. I've used the 140T. There's like a 5% difference. That's what I'm editing all the time now. Like that's my primary editing system. So yeah, I'm going to be very comfortable with the performance of this chip because it's basically what I use on a daily basis. And let me tell you, it's very good. I have actually benched it against some dedicated graphics like the 4060, 4070. There's no difference. It's equivalent, right? Intel QuickSync is very good. They are specialists when it comes to productivity. Their drivers are specialized for it. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's fast. Like we're just ripping through here, right? We're already at 30%. It starts at 20 for some reason, but we're already at 30% here. So we'll probably be 2 minutes or something to do this 4K 60 export here. And I just have no need. Like I have my desktop over there, right? With a more powerful GPU. I just don't use it. I just use my laptop, which has the same iGPU as this basically. So yeah, it's very good. So I mean, yeah, you're gonna look at this chip, you're gonna look at the synthetic benchmarks and be like, oh, it's only got 10,000 in Cinebench. You can't use it for video editing. Hell yeah, you can. It's gonna be fast and probably beat out most other devices that you're using, unless it's a behemoth gaming laptop with, some massive DGPU or something like that. So yeah, it's gonna be quick. We're already halfway done, right? In my rambling there. So it'll be about 4 minutes to finish this thing. So there you go. Video editing is gonna be a specialty on this. You're gonna have amazing colors for that type of the video editing side of it. Then when you get to, for me, like the thumbnails, the graphic design is gonna be fantastic. This is a killer chip. Lunar Lake, apparently Intel has planned it as a one-off. They don't need to do that. They need to do this every single year. They should have their, their gaming, the HX processors like the Omen that I reviewed. Then they can have their H processors, which is in my current laptop. They can make more of those. And then they need to continue with these Lunar Lake V chips because they're so good. Okay, so can you play games on Intel Lunar Lake? Well, hell yeah, you can. Lunar Lake is actually very, very, very capable. It's really second only to AMD's best. There's the 140T, which I have in my primary laptop. Then there's the 140V, which is just a tiny bit behind that. And that's what this has here. Technically, the second best you can get. And it's well above something like, it's equal or well above something like a Lenovo Legion Go, ROG Ally. Those iGPUs are, yeah, they sit, the 780M, for example. The Lunar Lake is at least the same or better. Right? I find it's typically better, but it's at least as good. So here, I'm going to do, you can change resolution. I actually put it at half the native resolution, 900p, which is fantastic that you can do that. One of the advantages of this 1800p screen is that you can do native integer scaling, just half it, rather than the other alternative is just use 1800p and just put on a ton of scaling. But I primarily game like this, like I have handhelds on that, and I just put it at half. 800p or 900p in this case, so it's slightly higher than 800p. And I just game. Oh, I already killed that thing, I guess. And yeah, so I just game like that, and here we go. This is, I mean, it is on low, right? But watch this. We'll get in here and we'll start gaming. Like, I know it's going to work. I've played a ton. And to be honest, Doom is actually not a good title for a Doom the Dark Ages is not a good title for Intel. It doesn't perform. One advantage is, on desktop it has, pretty good VRAM limit amounts. But when it comes down to it, when we're talking about, iGPUs, generally speaking, AMD is more favorable in this title. But even with that, I mean, we're just going to do this. We're not going to do like the full metrics. But you can see, what we're getting here. An easy 30, 35. Even that low during all that chaos was 29. Our low was 29 during that big drop. So it's, it's not really an issue for us, right? Look at this performance here. This is a brand new game, Doom the Dark Ages, very hard to run, very, very hard to run, baked in ray tracing. Yeah, you heard me right. It has baked in ray tracing. You can't turn off ray tracing in this game. You can, play with it, but it has it baked in by default. But fortunately, Intel Arc has ray tracing units. Like even the iGPU has ray tracing units, not for enabling high levels of ray tracing, but to allow it to function under these modern scenarios where these games have baked in ray tracing, right? Let's skip that. That's pretty sick. Short intro, long outro. This laptop here, what do I think about it? Let's go over the negatives. The EliteBooks aren't super cheap, so they're not going to be, like some $800 budget machine. They're not meant to be. That's not their market. That's not their niche. That's fine. But just be aware, it's not like a super, super, super cheap budget thing. There's different laptops for that. So that's one thing. Other negatives, I don't know. That's it. That's all. There's things you could want that are different depending on the person, right? Like the glossy screen is subjective, right? Some people don't like glossy. Some people do like glossy. Glossy offers the advantage of having incredibly vibrant colors, but you do get a little bit more reflectivity. You can see that there. So you have to, just be careful with your angles. So, trade off. But the audience for this laptop probably doesn't care because it's not like a typing machine. Like it's not the type of machine you're just like, all right, whatever, just get that. Just, write some documents. You just get an IPS cheap laptop. You don't need anything. That's not what this is for. This is the type of laptop that would appeal towards creative types doing serious creative work, who need that really nice color space, need the colors to pop off the screen, potentially need access to that touch screen that you can get out of it. Depending on what you're doing, if you're working out in the field, that kind of thing, traveling a lot, you probably need to have crazy good battery life. If you're a photographer or something like that, videographer, this thing here has, the battery is insane on this laptop here. Obviously, it's a Lunar Lake chip with a relatively large battery. Very good. It's going to be crazy portable, right? Again, it's going to appeal towards that same audience there. It weighs nothing. This laptop weighs nothing. It's so thin. It shows up thick on camera. It always does. I need like perspective point. It's such a thin, tiny little laptop, but it feels very premium. No flex on it. So, the design, the screen, and all that kind of stuff is good. Speakers are good, right? Everything's fine there. Keyboard is really nice. Despite being a low profile, it is still very nice. Trackpad is superb because it's a haptic trackpad. And the last thing is incredibly good performance. The other thing is you can actually game on it, right? Like everything's a gaming laptop these days. The nice thing is though, doesn't need a DGPU to get there. You get a little iGPU, the Lunar, like so efficient. You get like 25, 30 watts. You get crazy good performance. AAA games from 2025. Yeah, you can do it. Anything before that is going to be a breeze for this laptop. So it's really, really nice. HP support's good. If you haven't had an HP laptop, I've had many over the years. Their support is good. Their warranty is good. It's just nice. It's just nice to have a company that, you can look at it and be like, if something does happen to the laptop, you never know, right? You just need that support, right? You can't figure something out. Something breaks, just a fluke, something like that happens from time to time on laptops. It's nice to have a company that has, good support and good warranty. And HP, generally speaking, does have very good support and very good warranty. So there you go. Check it out.